Hi friends, I wonder if I'm the only one who feels like the world's gone completely mad. Scientists in California have discovered an intriguing feature of the brains of peoples with schizophrenia. It turns out that the cells, certain sections of DNA, are as if taped shut, preventing the body from accessing crucial information. Normally, DNA inside cell is tightly packed with the help of special protein called histones. For a cell to read genes, this packaging must loosen slightly. To achieve these special chemical tags, acetyl groups attached to histones. These tags act like tiny keys. When they added, the packaging relaxes and genes become accessible. When removed, everything tightens back up and remains unreadable. In people with schizophrenia, the keys barely function. There are too few acetyl groups, leaving essential genes locked away. Scientists believe this may be a core mechanism behind the illness. What can be done? Researchers suggest unlocking the genes using drugs that inhibit a special enzyme. The drug's called histone deacetylase. This enzyme removes the chemical keys, preventing DNA from functioning properly. By blocking it, there is hope to restore the brain's ability to access these genes. Interestingly, similar processes have been observed in other brain disorders such as Huntington's diseases and age-related cognitive declines. This means that new drugs could potentially help not only people with schizophrenia, but also elderly patients with memory and thinking problems. Importantly, such medications are already being developed for other diseases, so scientists won't have to start from scratch. The next step is to test whether these instruments can truly help the brain untie critical genes and improve life for those with severe mental disorders. For millions of years, evolution has been tuning human organs to give us the best chance of survival in the world once ruled by saber-toothed cats and mammoths. Take the ear, for example. At first glance, it looks odd, even whimsical. Folds, ridges, and curves inside and out. But in this seemingly chaos, the subtle logic lies. Scientists believe that these shapes helps us pinpointing the direction of sound, whether a branch cracked in the distance or beast growled to the right or a predator crept up from behind. The ear is not just a gateway for sound, it's a survival tool refined over millions of years. Yet its remarkable abilities don't stop there. The human ears can do things that seem almost unbelievable. For instance, they can hear temperature. It sounds metaphorical, but it is a real phenomenon. British advertising researchers first noticed it when they ran an experiment. Participants were poured tea, sometimes hot, sometimes cold, and had to guess which one they were hearing. The results were astonishing. 96% correctly distinguished hot from cold tea simply by listening to the sound. The explanation, as always, lies in physics. In cold liquid, molecules move sluggishly and cling tightly together. In hot liquid, they race around the high speed. And this difference shows up even in sound of pouring. Our ears, it turns out, are sensitive enough to detect these minute variations. The ear doesn't merely hear speech or music, it distinguishes the tiniest nuances of vibration, transforming a chaos of noise into a meaningful picture. The human body as a whole is like a brilliantly engineered instrument. And the ear is one of its masterpieces. Every fold of outer ear, every delicate vibration of the eardrum reflects millions of years of evolution. The more we learn about our own organs, the more we realize that we carry with us extraordinary mechanisms no engineers could ever invent from the scratch. The end of the world is a theme that never goes out of style. Centuries, empires, and disasters come and go, yet people still love imagining how everything will collapse. Journalists from Germany's Deutsche Welle compiled a ranking of doomsday scenarios from antiquity to the present. Cassandra, the priestess and prophetess of ancient Greece in the 3rd century BC, foretold the fall of Troy and hinted at the apocalypse. The problem is that her prophecies always come true, but no one believed her. Today it's the opposite. The more absurd the prediction, the greater the panic. Prophets of the Roman Empire saw the end of the world in the fall of Rome, insisting that decadence and laziness would destroy the state. In reality, it was simply dismantled by barbarians, faster and with less philosophy. Early 20th century, fall of Europe, feared the Halley Comet. It would crash into the earth. Newspaper warned of a cosmic devil. But the comet merely waved its tail and moved on. Intellectuals, meanwhile, discussed Oswald Spengler's decline of the West, and some philosophers are still arguing that it has already happened, we just haven't noticed. Today we have the full set. Nuclear war, energy crisis, Chernobyl, Fukushima, but the current frontrunner is global warming. Glaciers are melting, oceans are rising, harvests are failing, and the world faces hunger and epidemics of various diseases. In short, prepare for famine, disease, and the next season of the series Apocalypse Life. Sonia's story is practically the plot of French thriller, where the protagonist decides that diplomas are nothing but boring pieces of paper, and medicine, after all, it's not that complicated. After earning a bachelor's degree in real estate management, she suddenly realized that selling apartments was dull, while saving lives, or at least pretending to, sounded far more exciting. And instead of spending years in university, Sonia chose a much shorter path. She simply forged a few diplomas and starting in 2018 began practicing as a general practitioner. But even that wasn't enough for the daring Frenchwoman. A couple of years later, when the role of GP grew a bit tiresome, Sonia decided to switch specialities and became an ophthalmologist. Without a single anatomy course, without a single lecture on ophthalmology, but with the brazen calm of someone convinced that if she could sell a few apartments, she could surely figure out people's eyes too. During her medical career, the enterprising lady earned about 70,000 euros, administered COVID-19 vaccines, and prescribed medications without the slightest idea of what she's doing. When the deception came to light, the mother of three tried to place the sympathy card, explaining that she simply desperately needed money and that being a doctor seemed like a perfect solution, but French court turned out to be less romantic than a Hollywood script. No excuses worked. Now Sonia will spend 2 years in prison where she may finally learn about real therapy. What is real therapy? Only this time not on patients, but on her own conscience. The irony of the whole story is that many of her parents are Probably still wondering who was more dangerous, the coronavirus itself or the Dr. Sonia with her fake diplomas and astonishing faith in her own talent. What do you think about it? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, my friends. Share them down in the comments. I'll be reading them all.